Hello, fellow readers who are looking for heartfelt books of reinvention, coming back into life, new and renewed identities with lots of warmth and heart. I'm going to be reviewing 4 books like this in under 4 minutes, or I'm going to try to keep each review to 60 seconds. That will make you feel like, hey, I want to read that book, or maybe another time, or I know someone who might like that. I'm Julie Jordan Scott. I'm also known as a creative life midwife. I'm a writer, I am a creative life coach, I am a granny, and I love meeting with people who love books like I love books. So are you ready to go through our selections for this week? Our first book is perfect for the woman who's asked, what's next in life? This book is called Tapestry of Fortunes by Elizabeth Berg, and it tells the story of Cecilia, who is a successful motivational speaker at the prime of her midlife, who chooses to start over on purpose after the death of her best friend. So what does she do? She breaks up with her boyfriend. She moves from the house that she's lived in for a long time. She goes ahead and sells it. And she moves in with 3 other women, kind of like the Golden Girls, but younger. And together, these women go on a road trip because they have left things undone that they want to heal. It's a loving, creative, heartfelt book full of inspiration, and I loved every word. I do have a caveat about this book, though. Although it's beautifully written, has great stories, has fabulous characters, it also has a lot of woo-woo. So if you're not into woo, this won't be the book for you. That is Elizabeth Berg, Tapestry of Fortunes. Our next book is another one by Elizabeth Berg called The Last Time That I Saw You, which answers the question, what really happens at a 40th reunion? Have you ever wondered about that? I have. I have not attended one of my reunions, although after reading this book, I may be inspired to do so. It is told from 6 different points of view, which might seem like a lot, but really it is so smooth. You hear from all different kinds of people in the student body, from the quarterback to the head cheerleader, who you always expect to hear from them. But you also hear from some of the class nerds, what I really love, or for the people who kind of trail after the quarterback and the cheerleader. This is a wonderful book full of reflections, full of things that don't turn out as you expected, and so well told in Elizabeth's unforgettable, beautiful writing. If you wonder about what happened to your classmates, or if you're considering going to your high school reunion, check out The Last Time I Saw You by Elizabeth Berg. I realized as I recorded these that these are all fiction books. And lately I've been reading pretty even with nonfiction, poetry, and fiction. But I was traveling this week, so I spent a lot of time reading, and it was like literally all for pure pleasure. So if you're saying, so where's the nonfiction, Julie? Don't worry, that will be coming up in another This next book is the perfect book to read during Pride Month, or any time actually, especially as a cisgendered straight person like myself. Sometimes it's difficult for me to understand what it is like for a queer person when we are talking about identity and dealing with your past and healing and engaging with people from your past who didn't know about your identity, and on and on. This book, The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill, made me feel slightly uncomfortable in many places simply because how do I want to say it? There were times when I felt really uncomfortable in the reading, not in a bad way, but because I felt the character's discomfort. So what happens in this book is Darby is a 30-year-old trans man. He's living in New York City, and the startup that he's been working for falls apart. So he has a choice. Will he leave New York City, where all his queer community is, and he feels totally at home and fits in? That's where his life is. But he's stuck at a crossroads. So he decides to go home to his home in the Midwest, where his mom still lives, and try to figure things out. On his first night back, he goes to the bookstore where he worked as a high schooler, and he peers through the window, and the strangest thing, the clerk inside looks an awful lot like he did as a 17-year-old high school senior. He opens the door and finds himself plummeted into 2009. And that is, in fact, him in the past. And so he begins engaging with himself and then coming back outside the bookstore, and it's back into present day, where he engages with his high school friends and discovers a lot of new things about them and about how life has gone on and how he can be accepted in many places, but he's still trying to get his footing. This is a well-crafted, well-written, engaging book that will stay in my mind for a long time. I found it really helpful and really enjoyable, and it encouraged me to read more books where the protagonists are queer. I've read books where some of the side characters are queer, but this book, many of the characters are queer. And what I really loved, though, was there was so much dimension in the different characters. Especially love the relationship between Darby and his mom. This is the In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. Check this. We've made it to our last book, and I know I've gone over 60 seconds, but not much for each of these reviews. This book I'm bringing you today, right now, is my favorite of the bunch. It's probably on one of my top 5 of 2025 so far. It is one of my favorite tropes. It's a rom-com within a rom-com. I've never seen a book that is a rom-com within a rom-com. I have seen movies that were rom-com novelists going to some town, small town world, and they turn out, of course, falling in love with the person in the small town. This is different. This is a woman who wanted to be a screenwriter, but instead found herself taking care of her ill father, his primary caregiver, 24/7 for the last 10 years. She has a wonderful opportunity to help her favorite screenwriter to rewrite his horribly written rom-com. And as you can imagine, lots of hijinks happens. I love all of the tropes that are thrown in there. There's so much laughter, but there's also poignance, and there's also some deep topics within here. And author Katherine Center really knows how to tie it all together in a beautiful package, which is why this is one of my top 5. Up there with a lot of books that are not at all like this one, but I just loved it. If you like romantic comedies, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. I'm curious to know, what have you been reading lately? Have you read anything? If you haven't, that's cool. There was a long time when I didn't read much, but now I can't get enough. And reading could be an expensive hobby, so I suggest going to your local library and getting a library card. This was a 2025 book. These others were all backlists, so the backlists are easier to get to put on hold in your library and just find them there. But I'm really curious to know about your reading. What do you like to read? Which of these 4 books are a book you might want to read or you might want to suggest to someone? If you could write in the comments anything about any of these 4 books that you remember and what you thought was most compelling about 1, 2, 3, or 4, or all of them. I've gone through 3 bloopers, so this time I'm just going to talk and accept that it will be acceptable. I thank you so much for watching these reviews, and I'm really curious to know what books you have read lately that you think I might like to read. Or maybe you're not a reader at all, and you're here just because you're kind and want to support me, and boy, do I appreciate that. For all of you, if you would please like, subscribe, any kind of commentary, if you want to recommend this to friends who are readers or who are just getting back into that reading habit. My daughter, I don't know if she's going to watch this, but she hadn't read seriously for a long time, and now she's on a 95-day reading streak. Incredible. It happens. We go from non-reader to passionate reader quickly sometimes. So thank you again. I'm thrilled that you're here. And on the next video about books, I'm going to report in on reading Fox by Joyce Carol Oates, hot off the presses, her newest book. It has academia in it, and it's a thriller. And it's over 600 pages. So thank you so much for watching. And I always look forward to seeing you in any video that I offer, whether it's about books or writing or inspiration or traveling or hiking or exploring or starting over again in midlife. That's one of my themes lately. So thank you. I can't thank you enough.